The Against All Odds podcast, sponsored by Oak Forest Recovery.
Welcome to Against All Odds podcast. I am your host, Rachel. We have co-hosts RJ and Hunter, and we have special guest, sober supermodel, Kari Nautique in the building. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
It was really nice meeting you guys, and I've loved listening to your podcast.
Oh, really?
Love hearing that.
Like I was saying earlier, it's like it's not all just sobriety, but it is experience, strength, and hope, like, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So, love what you're doing.
That's what we try to do. So where should we dive in?
You guys met through like the 3A thing, right?
Well,
on
Instagram, and then she came to my meetings.
Actually, you posted a TikTok. I don't have TikTok anymore. I have been banned from TikTok.
Oh,
Banned? Wait, why did you get banned?
Yeah.
We'll get into that. And it was something about you eating, like you had baked like 24 muffins and you ate like 20 of them or something. And you're like, this is how, this is how I'm an addict or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, cause I can't put anything down. And my best friend at the time, she was like, this girl is just like you. You need to follow her. As I'm sitting there like with the Publix bakery items, like on my 12th cupcake. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to follow her.
Yeah. Twins.
Yeah.
What size muffins were they?
Okay, so I baked an entire 24 count family like muffin thing, and I made it instead of making muffins, I put it in like a cake thing, and I ate the entire thing.
You made one big muffin.
Oh, you made a cake.
One big muffin cake, and I ate the whole entire thing.
Well, the thing is, I do that same thing, and I stopped buying like cakes from the bakery because I could buy like a mini buttercream cake that's like this big, and I could sit there with just a fork and eat the whole thing.
Yeah.
Or I could buy the box and bake it, and it was way cheaper.
Yeah. And delicious. And I like to like half cook my things. So they're weird. I like to like little doughy, little gooey, and just get in there with a spoon, not even cut pieces.
Oh, yeah. It's almost like a lava cake. It's like, anyway, so that's how I found Rachel.
Got it. And then you started going to her meetings?
So I've kind of struggled with addiction and sobriety, and I've been in and out of the rooms for a while. And so when I saw that she had posted that she has meetings, it was actually at the same time. It was the same best friend who she was like, this girl hosts like meetings on Thursday nights. Like I tuned into one, and it was.
What's this best friend's name? I feel like we need to shout her out.
She'll probably get a lot of shout outs, but her name was Wendy.
And
so she was like, you'll actually like it. It's a group of women who, it was your women's meeting. And she was like, they were all talking about mom stuff and the struggles that you guys go through. And I just, every time this woman speaks, I feel like I'm hearing directly from your voice. So like you should join. And so that's how I ended up kind of just following you and everything. And then throughout the past like 2 years, like that friendship fell apart. And I didn't watch you. I still followed you, but I didn't like join any of the meetings or anything. And then when I got back into sobriety, I was like, man, I really need to connect with more people that are like me when I'm sober, not like me when I'm drunk. I need like more sober me's. And I remembered that about you. So I was like, I need to just start like tuning into this girl's stuff more often. So I came to the meetings, and
here you are.
Here I am.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah. A love story.
All right, so take us back. Let's go all the way back.
Let's start from the beginning. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's go crisscross applesauce.
Let's dive into who's Kari.
So I guess I can start with a little bit of my childhood. So like I've always been really awkward, and it's not a side of me that people see, because people see this like they see the supermodel side, right? They see the magazine covers, they see the catwalks and the runways. But I was this girl with like crooked teeth, and I mean like the crookedest that your teeth could be, okay? And like I had crooked bangs because my dad would try to cut my hair, and he would wait till it was wet to flatten it down on my forehead and then cut it, and then it would dry uneven. And I had no eyebrows because I'm a natural blonde. Like I don't dye my hair. So but I do color in my eyebrows because they're super blonde. So I just had this, and I was always sunburnt and red. So like just this little like blonde tomato with crooked teeth running around. And I was very hyperactive and it was hard for me to make friends. So I kind of got like alienated a lot, especially through high school. And in the meantime, I was going through having a mother that was an addict and an alcoholic. And she regretted having me because she was a teenager. She got pregnant with me on purpose to trap my dad. And this is a story that we know is a fact because my dad's younger brother was her gay best friend. So she would get drunk and tell him all these things. So through my gay uncle, I was like, we know the truth. So my dad didn't love her and she resented me for existing. And after...
And you think that because like it didn't work, like her plan didn't work or something?
I know that because of the things she told me when she was in active alcoholism.
Got it. Okay.
That she should thank me for her not aborting me. Like things just that a mother should never say to a child.
Right.
So I grew up and she was very physically violent. She actually got arrested for child abuse for like knocking the crap out of me, like fracturing my nose. And so as I'm this awkward person in high school who's struggling making friends, I go home to like hell every day. And I would be this like happy, bubbly, like hyperactive person there. But when I was at home, I couldn't be. So she dealt with her alcoholism by just indulging. Like DUIs. I don't think she ever actually got a DUI, but I had been in the passenger seat several times when she should have. And that really like should have made me not want to get into drinking because I saw the kind of monster that I actually used to call her Momster when I was like 10 or 11. And it didn't deter me from it. Like I never thought once like maybe I shouldn't pick up, right? What I thought was like I need to get me some of that. And at the time my Nana, who was also helping raise me whenever my mom was on benders or whenever I was like weekends and summers I'd spend with my Nana. She was a major alcoholic and I just like respected her and loved her. I didn't realize she had a problem. But she would go through like a handle of Jack Daniels in like a week and, smoking cigarettes back to back and, keeping a double-barreled shotgun behind the front door to shoot squirrels that got into our corn. And like, she was very, very Southern belle, very country, like straight whiskey kind of woman.
Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in North Florida.
Okay.
Jacksonville is my hometown. And then Ocala is where my Nana lived, which is like an hour and a half, like into like south and kind of west. Yeah. And so we had all of this land and they would grow crops and orange trees and stuff. And my Nana, like that was my safe haven. Even though my Nana drank, she was never violent to me. She was never mean to me. So I started stealing her whiskey. When my gay uncle died, I started going in and taking, the whiskey out of her bar. And she noticed it because she's a true alcoholic. Like, she's like, where's my shit?
She knows exactly where
she knows exactly where the level is.
Yeah.
And so she, that kind of, as that progressed, like I remember when I finally turned 21, in front of her, I grabbed the bottle and I poured it. And Palatka, which is town, which is like the closest store, right, is like 45 minutes away. But there's a bar across the street. And I say across the street, it's like 5 acres. But I pour the whiskey in front of her and I'm like, she's like, what in the hell do you think you're doing? I'm like, Nana, I'm 21. I can drink. She goes, you can't drink my whiskey.
She's like, I got no problem you drinking. You just ain't taking mine.
So I think she knew, like at that point, she was like, she called me a little shit. And she was like, this little shit's been drinking my whiskey. And at that point, like by the time I turned 21, I was already full like active alcoholism. I had a ID, like a fake ID. I was like getting into bars. I was working as a bartender. And I had already also been arrested once for being drunk underage in a bar at like 19 years old. And so like everybody knew, it was just like so normalized. I didn't know what AA was. I had no idea what sobriety was. I was like, it didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be a model so badly that like when I was 14, I used to cut out pictures of like Playboy bunnies and bikini models from Sports Illustrated. And I would tape them to my door. And I'd be like, this is what I want to do.
Vision board.
Yeah,
Vision
before
door.
vision boards existed.
Vision door.
Vision door. But it was one of those cheap like wood doors, you know, that you could staple into because it was hollow.
Yeah.
So like, they were all like stapled onto the door. Yeah. And I started trying to model when I was 18, and I booked a gig with a really big surf company called Salt Life. And it was when they first started out. And the photographer was a really good friend of mine. And I was smoking cigarettes and drinking beer. Like I was not in shape. And he was like, look, like you're a surfer, so this is like, okay, you know, but I'm going to stop editing your photos if you don't stop, like, at least if you don't stop smoking, like, and you don't get on a diet and try and get healthy. So it wasn't like, oh, you have a drinking problem. It was like,
you got to look good.
No,
you got to look good.
Yeah. If you want to do this,
like
these are the things you need to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I switched to liquor, you know, instead of beer. And like, I had already kind of been like doing a bunch of shoots and stuff by the time I was in my early 20s. And, oh man, there's so much that happened in those years, like that I just didn't realize what I had was a problem. Like I really didn't think it was like not like it was so normal. It was so normalized to drink. And like every song on the radio at the time was like, I'm successful, I'm buying bottles in the club. Mm-hmm. And I remember having a thought at one point where I was like, what would I give up to have that kind of like fame or that kind of like success, you know? And for some reason, I remember thinking like, I don't think I could give up drinking. I wouldn't give up that, but like I'd give up anything else. Mm. And that didn't raise red flags for me even. So I drank all through my 20s.
Did drinking play a part in, like you said, you had like a lot, you were awkward, you had like anxiety? Like, did it help with that? I still have
major anxiety, guys. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, listen, I think you're at a table with people that have anxiety. Yeah. So
yes.
We feel you.
Actually, yeah, my sponsor has been telling me to go to more in-person meetings because I am so nervous around people. Yeah. And drinking really did help with that. Right. Like, and it...
Like when you were going on shoots and you were around these people.
Like that social lubricants.
It was very like... It made it easy to put on the Kari Nautique persona. Yeah. Because who she was somebody that could walk into, I mean, any room. Yeah. And I used to talk about how I could be a chameleon. I could walk into any room and be anything to anyone, whatever I need to be. And if that's what, like, whether it was a runway, whether it was like a photo shoot, whether it was like, depending on which brand I would shoot for, like I have to have a different demeanor. Yeah. You know, I'm either a hard ass or I'm soft and innocent or whatever. Yeah, and so fit. I was able to play those parts, but the anxiety came about when it was like being Kari. Yeah. Because being Kari carries that little like crooked bang, crooked teeth, like bright red face, tomato, and like getting made fun of in school. Right. You know, so alcohol kind of like hid that Kari for a very long time. Right. And then I had to get it under control for a lot of my shoots and stuff because I was losing jobs because alcohol makes your skin look terrible. It makes you gain weight. It makes you lose sleep. And so it was starting to get really difficult to like juggle that. But still, it was in this era of bottles in the club, you know? And so it was...
I've actually like interviewed like other like models in the past, and like they've said that stimulants are a big like issue within like that industry because of like losing weight and stuff. Did you ever like struggle with like cocaine or anything like that?
I only ever liked cocaine when I was really drunk and I needed to
come out of it.
Well, and I wanted to get more drunk, but it was like I'm at blackout, so if I do a bump, I won't black out. I can get more drunk. But I never really
did it on its own.
I never did it on its own. I do remember having this this really funny conversation one time with another model that I worked with where we just didn't want to work out like at all. And we were like, oh my God, how do we lose weight? Like, without working out, what if we just do like a bunch of cocaine? Yeah. Like,
would it work?
I mean, and it was like kind of a joke, but kind of not a joke because it was like, well, maybe if I just did something that made me really, really stimulated and took away my appetite. And that was a lot of the industry. But I think that for me, it wasn't that I didn't like the way I felt when I was on it. It was only ever something I did to just get more drunk. Like alcohol was my thing, you know, and all of the other stuff that came around with it, like Molly and blow and like I think shrooms, but I never really dabbled with anything like that. Like I never tried heroin. I never tried anything with a needle. I didn't smoke anything. Even like marijuana, like anytime I tried it, it immediately made me fall asleep. And I didn't want to be asleep. Like I'd rather be up and doing things. So I really just stuck to liquor for a while. Yeah.
Okay, so now you're getting onto all these shoots. You're what, early 20s?
Yeah. So when I was newly 21, I got a job out in California and I got hired for this bikini company. And I remember the girl that booked my flight that worked for the CEO or the owner of the bikini company. She was booking my flight to go out there for 2 weeks with a handful of other models. And we were going to shoot, take a jet down to Mexico, shoot like bikini stuff on the beach, and then go back to California. And then everybody disperses, fly home. Well, at the end of those 2 weeks, I didn't have a flight home. And it turns out that the girl that worked for the guy that owned the company was high when she booked my ticket. And she booked it for 2 months and not 2 weeks. And this was my first time in California. And I mean, I just got to stay at this mansion with like, we were like right next door to like Eddie Murphy. And I got to take a private jet for the first time. And I looked at the guy that owned the company and I was like, you don't even have to pay me. Just give me somewhere to live. Like, let me stay for those 2 months and let me do her job. And you don't have to fire her, but like, please don't make me go home. I don't want to leave California. And he goes, okay. And so I stayed for 2 months. And at the end of those 2 months, I was like, please just hire me. Please don't send me home. And I ended up living in California full time. I ended up calling my parents and being
this is at 23?
21.
21.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I called my dad.
In LA?
Yeah. In LA. And I called my dad and I was like, and in my mind, I'm seeing all of these pictures of Playboy bunnies on the back of my door. Right.
You're like doing it.
I'm like, oh my God, I made it. And everybody in Jacksonville is like, you made it. And in my mind, I'm like, I haven't made it anywhere except for landing here, you know, like I haven't actually made anything.
But coming from a small town, that's like.
Yeah. And so I ended up getting hired to do the radio show for Playboy. And it was their morning show. And they had no other models that would wake up in the morning. And so I got to meet a lot of people that lived at the house. And I'm sitting here like, this is my ticket. Like, this is what I want. Yeah. So I got.
How did you land that? How did that come about?
So the bikini company got interviewed on Playboy Radio. And the two co-hosts of Playboy Radio loved me. Like the banter back and forth. I don't know. I have no idea what it was, but they invited me back solo. And
like as a host,
as a guest,
Okay.
And they ended up wanting to bring me back a lot. So instead of being a playmate, they called me a radio mate, and they gave me a title, and they let me go to Playboy events and interview people. And I still wasn't getting paid for it. I was just like, I'm gonna just do this because I want to do it. Like,
wow.
Yeah, the modeling industry is fun.
Yeah.
So I ended up just meeting the right people.
That's really common though, right? It's like basically you really want to be a part of it. You're like from the small town, you're trying to find your break, and people in that industry see that and they're like,
they take advantage for sure.
Right.
Yeah. I could have fought back and been like, can I get some kind of, can you give me like $100 for this or something?
But you don't want to lose the opportunity.
I didn't want to lose the opportunity. No. And I ended up meeting a couple of the Playboy bunnies. I became friends with them. And I ended up going to something they used to host on Sundays at the mansion called Fun in the Sun. And only models or girls that worked for the company could go to Fun in the Sun. And it's where Hef would sit by the pool and play backgammon. And a group of models would come by and they'd feed us lunch and give us drinks. And on Sunday nights, we'd watch whatever movie was like in theaters at the time. And so for me, it was like free drinks, free food. I get to lay out. So the first thing I did when I got there for lunchtime was I just took my top off, because I'm like, if I'm going to tan naked anywhere, it's going to be at the Playboy Mansion. There's no cameras here. Like, I'm safe. This is where nudity flourishes. Like, and also because I'm like, maybe they'll want to shoot me, you know? So I, you know, I'm like just trying to get my way in there.
Get discovered.
Yeah, like get discovered. Well, it worked. And Hef's brother, Keith, after I took my top off, a bunch of the other girls started taking their tops off. And oh my God, this sounds like Girls Gone Wild, but it's not.
It's the original Girls Gone Wild.
So yeah. So basically all the other girls, I guess, they saw me do it. They all did it. I thought it was normal. I had never been there. Hef's brother came up and shook my hand before the movie that night and said, I just want to let you know I haven't seen that many titties here since like the 90s. And I was like, you're kidding.
And what year is this?
This was 2009, I think, or 2010.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're kidding me. And it turns out that a lot of the girls there that lived there or that lived in the bunny house, they just didn't do that anymore. And I guess I put pressure on them. And so they invited me back continuously. They're like, you can come by Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, like anytime we have any type of holiday event. Yeah. And so I just got really comfortable there. So I was there, I mean, at least 3-4 days a week, and every single event, every single party. And the parties that weren't hosted by Hef, that were hosted by the charities and stuff, I got to stay in the house, which you don't get to stay in the house. Like I would be in pajamas at the Halloween party, like waving at people I knew, but like from where they couldn't get, you know?
Yeah.
And it was wild. So it just snowballed into me kind of like living my dream a little bit and getting to experience that out there.
And how much was alcohol still playing a part?
I was drunk every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything I did was basically like, I get to drink for free.
Did they start paying you though?
I got paid for the shoots. Yeah. Yeah. And I, at the time, also ran into a friend from high school in Jacksonville. And she was like, I need a roommate. And I was like, cool. So I moved in with her and downtown LA. And then I would book shoots. And then I would drive all the way to Las Vegas to do work, you know, like just anything I could get that would keep me on this coast. Like it was like, this is my dream. I'm living my dream. I want to do this. And yeah, it was a crazy couple of years, but like looking back on it now, I'm like, I don't regret a single thing. And it gave me something that I wanted. Like, I feel like I checked that box. I achieved that. And then it built the foundation of like my whole modeling career, and it gave me notoriety and it gave me connections. But man, if I would have been sober for all that, like I just think back now, like, do you ever think back of like, oh man, I could have done so much more if I would have had like the right mind instead of just looking for the party every time, you know?
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, I get that.
Part of the process.
I guess.
I think it's part of the process. What was the craziest thing you ever saw at the Playboy Mansion? Is it as crazy as it like seemed during that time? She was there when the reality show, what was it called again?
Girls Next Door.
Girls Next Door.
I was there for that. Towards the end of that, honestly, what a lot of people don't realize is that like people thought that girls just hung around the house all day in lingerie and hair and makeup. Those girls just live there.
Normal
girls. They live there in sweats with their ponytails and stuff. I will say that I never ever had any type of intimate relationship with Hugh Hefner ever, which I feel like I always need to say because
I feel like most people always assume that.
Yeah,
right?
I get
like,
that question.
You were at the mansion a lot, girl.
And I'm like, no, I did get offered to. I got asked to go upstairs after a movie one night, which was like their way of like, do you want to initiating, but also like he only ever did that with girlfriends, and so it was kind of their way of asking like if I was interested in being a girlfriend, and I said no, and it came with like $100,000 a year salary, and you got to live there for free, and I was like no, and I told the staff person that had asked me, I said, please tell Hef I love him to death as family, and absolutely no, and I respect him, like, and then nothing ever changed. I still got invited back all the time. He was still very kind to me, so there was never this weird like, oh, we're gonna shun her now because she said no. Right. But as far as crazy, I mean, like there's some drunk celebrities and stuff. I mean, I was not a celebrity, but I was drunk. It was, you know, a lot of craziness. One of the girls was dating Eddie Murphy's cousin. So we got to go over to his house and go bowling one time in his basement, which was kind of wild. That's cool. But there wasn't really anything crazy. I mean, there were girls that I had to rescue because they definitely got drugged. There were girls that were painted that were like, you know, absolute shit shows that I would have to bring in the house and clothe them with some of my pajamas or tracksuit or something and like let them sober up. But it wasn't anything that there wasn't anything that happened that wasn't something you would just expect.
Yeah.
You know? So
that makes sense.
Yeah. I never saw any of the like weird, dirty stuff that happens that people talk about because I didn't indulge in any of that.
Yeah.
I was just drunk the whole time.
You were like, I'm just here to have a little bit of good time. Not too much, but a little bit of a good time. Okay. So where were we? So after the Playboy Mansion, now you're doing all these shoots. Yeah. Living with your friend in downtown LA, doing all these shoots, being a model, living the dream.
Living the dream
while you're still drunk, but that's
still bartending on the side.
Okay,
you know, like modeling
gotta
doesn't
pay the bills.
Still bartending on the side and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I lived through the LA stuff, and I went back to Florida. I forget why I moved back to Florida. Oh, I think it was because my best friend moved back to Florida. I moved back to Florida, but I moved to Boynton Beach. And I was going to finish college, which I actually never got the chance to because my biological mom had in her state of mind had drained the college fund my Nana had set up for me. So I didn't have that as an option anymore unless I came out of pocket. So then when I got to Florida, my friend and I like signed up for a gym membership and like we were just partying in Miami a lot. And I ended up meeting my son's dad at the gym. And so I actually went back out. We moved in like right away together. And we partied together a lot. Like we're both different people now, but that relationship was based on like going out on the weekends together to Miami and like Molly and blow and vodka was pretty much it. And it was me and him and my best friend. And we were just an absolute shit show together, but it was young love. You know, we were happy where we were. We were working a 9 to 5 and I was working in an office at this point because he didn't want me to model.
What kind of office job?
How did you feel about that?
Well, it was dermatology, which was cool because I got like free skincare. I didn't like it. And I also was obsessed with him. So I was like, I'm going to do anything this guy wants me to do. And so there were shoots that I would still say yes to. And there were times where he would literally stand in the doorway and try and keep me from going. And then Playboy asked me to fly back out and shoot Cyber Girl of the Year or something like that, like 4 more sets. And I stayed at the mansion when I flew back out there and I got to see Hef. And
was he pissed? Was your man's pissed about that?
He said, please don't tell my mom. And the first thing I did when I met her was like, tell her. And she was very supportive. So he actually he shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
So,
It was just his own insecurity.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah. She was really sweet about it. And I was like, oh, there's nothing to fear here. I'll just tell everybody and screw what you think. And I went out to LA and shot and I got to see Hef for the last time. And went back to Florida and then I didn't see him again. Obviously he's passed away now.
Yeah.
But that relationship when I came back to Florida, so him and I lived together for a little bit and it was like party, 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 party. And then I ended up pregnant. So partied a little too much. And so I got sober and because I was pregnant, but it wasn't because I thought I had a problem. I was like,
you were just like, I'm pregnant. I'm not going to drink, do drugs.
I'm not going to do any drugs. I'm going to take prenatal vitamins. I'm going to work out. I have health insurance. This will be great. And I told him, I said, you don't have to be here for this. Like, if you don't want to. And he wanted to. He said, no, I'm all in. I was like, okay. And then he didn't get sober while I was pregnant. So I was the DD a lot. Yeah. And I realized I didn't like this guy at all.
Oh, really?
I was like, oh my God, I'm pregnant and I'm engaged to this guy. And I only liked him when we were partying. And he was this hot dude from the gym. And now I'm going to marry him? Like, oh my God, what have I gotten into? But I went through with everything. I'm like, this is just what happens. This is what we do. This is just what happens. I'm going to be a good wife and I'm going to be a good mom and I'm going to just live out this horribly boring suburban life that doesn't have jets and
Glitz and
glam and red carpets and everything that I thought my future would have at that point in time. Mm-hmm. So anyways, like, fast forward, we had to move to Jersey where he was from. And we had to move into his parents' basement because he was supposed to take a job, and they ended up not hiring him for that job. And I had quit my job and left Florida. And so we had no vehicle. We had no jobs. We were on food stamps. We were on WIC, which was Women and Children, which is like free formula and stuff like that. Living in a basement when my son was born, and with our 2 dogs and with my in-laws. And also, like 3 blizzards hit that month, and I've never lived in the snow. I've never been more depressed in my life than that.
Wow.
That month. And after my son was born, I just started drinking again because that was my situation. And somehow with food stamps and everything, somehow I found wine money in the budget. Like somehow I found a way to afford alcohol because I was like, this is just...
You'll make it work if you
need to.
No matter what.
This is just my life. Right. But I got back into shape really quick after my son was born. And I don't know how that happened. Like 9 weeks after he was born, I shot my first bikini layout.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And it got 8 pages. And I was like...
8 weeks later?
9 weeks. 9 weeks postparpartum, I shot
insane.
my first bikini. And I got paid for it. And it was... For somebody that was literally like on WIC, with no car, I was like, oh, my modeling isn't over. It's not done. I can still do it. And so then I had to kind of cut my drinking back because I was like, if I'm going to continue to shoot and make money, this is the only option I have. And it's still an option. Like, holy shit, this is still on the table, which made my son's dad like really uncomfortable. He was like, oh, I thought you were done.
Yeah. Wait. And what was he doing at this point?
He was a personal trainer.
Oh, okay.
At this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
How much does a shoot like that pay?
So at the time, that shoot paid me like $300, and that was more money than I was making like at all. Like I didn't even have a job, and I was like, and they flew me down to Florida to do the shoot. So I brought my son with me, who was 9 weeks old, and because they flew me to Florida, my family got to see my son for the first time. Well, I mean, they flew up to see him when he was born, but like.
But you didn't have the money yourself to go back and forth. So
and
that was perfect.
Yeah. So I kept booking jobs in Florida. So by the time my son was 2, he was on his 40th flight. Like I kept getting booked, and infant and lap seats are free.
You got to take advantage of that.
So I would just bring my kid and then I'd have my parents meet me at whichever airport they flew me into, and they would get to see their grandkid. So I kept just traveling, and shooting and everything. Which was absolutely wild to me because like I just didn't think that the modeling career was going to continue.
Mm-hmm.
What was the most that you've made off of a shoot?
I had a Miami swim week where I worked like 3 days and made like $15,000.
Wow,
which was nice. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I got up to where I was making about. I still regularly make pretty good money off of it. But I don't license my photos to Playboy anymore. So I stopped working for them. And then I continue.
Is there a reason for that?
Because they pay you like a fee.
Mm-hmm. So, and then they have all the rights.
They have the rights, and those pictures are still on Playboy. They're still making money off of them. Like
smart.
12 years later. So I have my own site, and I monetize my own content that I don't have to license to anybody, which has been really awesome. Like that, especially when COVID hit, I was like, oh, I can work from home now and continue to do what I absolutely love to do. And then I can write off all my travel. If a company books me and flies me somewhere, that's great. But if they book me and they're like, we're not going to pay your flight, we'll just pay you more, then I can just buy my own flight or use my points and write off the trip. It's just, it's unreal that this is my life. Like it's insane.
Supermodel.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sober supermodel.
Sober now.
What do you think the darkest moment of your addiction was?
I had a night with a girl that I'm no longer friends with where we got pretty hammered at it was a hole in the wall bar, and we were doing a lot of blow because we wanted to keep drinking, and we'd been drinking all day. I think we finished like a Jameson handle between the two of us, and then did a bunch of blow, and then went to a bar. I don't remember that night, but I definitely knocked my front tooth out.
Clean out?
Yeah, like one of my front teeth are fake.
Did you face plant or something? Or what?
Yeah, so apparently I face planted into a curb. And I had big black eyes, and I had like road rash, like road burn on my, or not road rash, but like I had like gravel on my face, in my lip, and I woke up and I was missing a tooth. And she took a photo of me, and I still have it. And it's me sobbing my eyes out, like with 2 black eyes and a missing tooth.
Holy shit.
And I am going to post it one day.
I was just going to say, I feel like you definitely need to.
I am going to post it one day.
Yeah, I'm going to blow that up.
I am going to post it one day.
Oh my God, that before and after would be so good.
Yeah.
Well, my face is my money.
Career.
Yeah.
No, I'm like,
that's my
shit.
face is my money. And I was like, I didn't go to college. I've got no fucking skills. Like, if I like, what the hell? If I lose my face, like.
So you look in the mirror and you're just horrified.
Yeah. And I had already started trying to go to AA at that point.
Okay.
So
how did you, how did that first experience? Did you look into it? Did someone tell you about it? How to walk us through your first ever AA experience?
It's kind of wild because my biological mom came back into my life, and she came back to make amends.
Oh, because
she was sober.
Shit.
And she
That's great.
didn't remember a lot of what she did to me. And she was in her, I think I was like 31 and she was 51. She was 50. She was 19 when she had me. So she was trying to get sober for the first time in her 50s. And she came to my house. I saw her when my son was born. She completely uninvited showed up at my in-laws' house where we lived in that basement, and she got drunk the whole 3 days she was there, like blackout, and she was absolutely useless. So I was like, this isn't gonna work. And then we still had a relationship, but then it was always tumultuous. And so when she came to make amends, I invited her to my apartment in Miami. My son was there. We had like a nice weekend together. And I remember just drinking tea with her, and she was telling me about the program and about what making amends is, what AA is, what meetings she goes to. And she did a horrible job at making amends. It was, I am so sorry that was your
experience.
It was
sorry you felt that way.
Yeah, it was literally like, I'm so sorry that was your perception. That was the word.
God damn.
Yeah.
So didn't own it.
And I started just sobbing, and I looked at her, and my son was asleep in the room on the other side of the wall. And sorry.
No, it's okay.
I got to tell her that I am the mother to my son that I am, because I never want him to see me the way I see her. And sorry. The fact that she felt justified in defending herself instead of apologizing to me or protecting our relationship. I said, I never want him to hate me the way that I hate you. And she cried, and she didn't change her apology. And after that, I said, I am never going to be that woman. And if I am never going to be that woman, I am going to fucking AA, and I'm going to do it better than she did it.
Wow. So you went kind of out of resentment.
I went out of resentment, and that is not how you enter the program. By the way, for people, there was a couple.
But it's one way to enter.
Whatever gets you there.
Yeah,
honestly,
whatever gets you in the door.
Whatever gets you in the door.
And I remember my first meeting. I was wearing I was crying and hungover the whole time, and I was wearing a T-shirt that said, of course I drink like a fish. I'm a mermaid. And
was that on purpose?
my best friend got me that because she, my friend, she was my best friend at the time, but she got me that because we both loved mermaids, and I'm a diver. I'm a professional diver. So she had given me that, and I wasn't on purpose that I wore it there. It just happened to be what I woke up in that morning. And I started just like trying to get sober, trying to work my steps, but it just didn't click for me because I wasn't ready. I was just doing it to out AA my mom. And as soon as she fell off the wagon, which didn't take much longer, I didn't really have a reason to go anymore. And so I kept drinking. And then I would go back in though. I remember I would get sober for 2 weeks, and then I would drink for a whole weekend, and then I'd be like, no, wait, I do want what they have. And I'd go back in and I'd get like 30 days, and then I'd be like, I'd fuck up again. And then I'd be like, no, I do want that. And I would go back. So I kept getting drawn back to it. And it was almost like this, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but it was just this determination to like be able to do something better than my biological mom did it. And every time I fucked up and relapsed, I felt like her. And every time I saw myself drunk, we have a lot of similar features, and I saw her face in the mirror, and I just couldn't handle it. So fast forward a little bit, I was able to maintain my first like length of sobriety when COVID hit, because there was no more partying, there was no more going out, there was nobody could invite me anywhere, and because I cut off my mom for good. She had one last relapse, and it was April 27th of 2020 when I blocked her on everything. And I was like, every time I talk to this woman, we get into a fight and it triggers me and I drink. I'm not doing this anymore. And I'm still close with my grandma, which is her mom. And I talk to her every day. And is
that Nana?
Nana passed away, actually. That's just grandma.
Okay.
But the relationship I have with her, she's aware that that's how her daughter is, because her husband was like that. So she's like, I know what you're going through, and she's very forgiving, and she still also keeps a relationship with her. So through that, like, I know that she's been sober now for, I think, 2 years or so.
Wow.
But I know she hasn't done step 9. I'm just sitting here like, I didn't get a phone call. And I still do harbor a lot of resentment towards that. But after COVID hit, and I had this I think I had 8 months of sobriety at the time. And my best friend came from Vegas to hang out with me. And she had been my drinking partner for 15 years or so. And so when she came into town, of course, I started drinking again. I wasn't working the steps. I didn't have a sponsor. I wasn't working the program the way I should have. And I was like, oh, well, I've been sober all year so far, so I'm just going to drink because I can do it. I can prove to myself that I can do it. I can drink.
You're here now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just proved that I could go, 9 months without drinking. So I can totally drink, which turned into several months of blackout drinking. And then.
How old is your son at this point?
He was 6.
What's his name?
Jack.
And
so
you're living in Florida.
Right. So I'm in Miami.
Okay.
And Jack is unaware. And it's because I don't drink until he goes to bed.
Yeah.
Right. So I may put 3 or 4 bottles of wine away, but I'm going to put him down first. Sometimes I would pop a bottle and I'd have a few glasses before I put him down, but he never saw me black out. And I could wake up at 5 the next morning after blacking out, and I could get him ready for school and pack his lunch and get him to school. But because I worked mostly from home, it was I'm just going to go home and drink.
Yeah, right.
So I would have, I finally had my best friend move in with me and my son. She came to live with me after she left Vegas. And for a year and 10 months, she lived with me. And it was...
That's Wendy?
It's hard to hear her name sometimes. So every time I tried to get her sober, she was better at inspiring me to drink than I was better at inspiring her to not.
Sober.
Yeah. And I realized that and I did it willingly. Like, this wasn't her fault.
No, totally.
No, this was totally me.
Yeah, we have to take full responsibility for our actions.
Yeah, nobody will ever make me drink.
Yeah.
The only thing in the world that is going to make me drink is this hand picking it up and pouring it in my mouth. There is nothing on this planet that will force me to drink. So I was willingly going out with her and reliving all of those years that I had had. At this point, I had left my son's dad and I had divorced him and moved out. And I was like single and free and going out and enjoying my life. And I thought that meant like, I'm going to go get drunk with my best friend, because for, 15 years, that's what freedom was.
Right.
So, and her and I modeled together a lot, so like we would book jobs, and if she got booked on something, she'd bring me. If I got booked, I'd bring her. And it was just the way that we did everything together. And so when she moved in with me, it was like, oh, come to the gym with me, come eat healthy, come do this sober stuff. I got her to go to meetings with me. And then like, a month later, I'd be out shit-faced with her at happy hour. So it was a push and pull. And then in the meantime, I was still modeling full time. So when Miami Fashion Week came around, or when a big photo shoot was coming, or something was happening that I had to travel and I had to look good, I wouldn't drink. And I would start telling people I was sober, because I wanted to like start identifying with it. I wanted to be held accountable. And then if I said and promoted like, on some of my Instagram posts, I would put like, oh, I'm 100 days sober or whatever, and this is the gifts of sobriety. But I wasn't in meetings. I wasn't working a program. I was just white knuckling it. And then as soon as the holidays would come around, I would just go back to drinking. And if I had a photo shoot, people would be like, wait a minute, like, didn't you just post that you were sober? Or like, so no one ever said it to me, but I felt like that guilt. I felt like people were judging me because they had seen me post that I was sober, and now they're seeing me drink, Right. And so after a year and 10 months of her living with me, at the end of last year, she went back out. And I didn't. She met someone that's really bad for her. And I let her know, I tried to say it with love, but I was drinking when I said it, so I probably didn't. But I said, until you take accountability for some of the damage that you've done, because she had, and I'm not going to air that here, but, and get sober, I'm out. And I just couldn't continue to wake up every day and know if I was going to find her OD'd or not. And my son begged me to not. She had moved into an apartment, and my son begged me to not go over there anymore because he got so tired of us going over there. And so I sent her that, and she blocked me on everything. And she cut off her family and her friends and our whole friends group. And from what I hear, she's still out there. I know she's alive, and I don't know how her life is going or what she's up to. And I just pray for her. So my therapist, at this point, I had not gotten back into the program. My therapist was like, look, you just spent almost 2 years pouring everything into a woman that didn't want it. Like, what if you put that into a project that helped women that wanted help, that were trying to get sober, that were working a program? And so I do real estate as well. And I invested in a house in my hometown that I'm actually opening up as a women's sober living facility. And I call it my best friend's place.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's a great name.
That's a great name.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, like, where do we turn in our darkest hour too? Like we all have a best friend, right? And so it's like, one day I hope she does come back, and I hope she works a program, and I hope she finds a higher power. And I really do pray for her. But like, I had to focus on me, and I had to make that shitty decision to just like fire all of my friends, including the one I loved with all my heart. And I had to just cut ties with everybody in my life that was drinking and partying, because it just didn't vibe with me anymore, or what I wanted to do.
How long have you been sober now?
November 2nd will be 9 months for me.
Amazing. Love that.
What's different this time around is I have a sponsor. I'm working a program. I don't miss a single AA meeting. One of my favorites is a Zoom meeting.
She was at a meeting at like
4
a.m.
Yeah.
this morning.
One of my favorites is
That's the 7 a.m. back in Florida, right?
East Coast.
That was my favorite meeting.
And I love it. And I love the people. And my sponsor's been encouraging me to get out and to talk to people in person now and do in-person meetings, which brings me back to like crooked teeth, crooked hair, Kari, you know, like that awkward person that's like, look, y'all, I can walk a runway like pretty much naked and it doesn't bother me. But like,
well, because you have a purpose in a direction that you're going.
I have I have a persona that I can hide behind.
That's right.
You know, but I used to always say, like, if I have on a pair of heels and a pair of lashes, I'm not nude. And now it's like, if I go to like a backyard barbecue or if I go to like an in-person meeting, I'm like terrified. I'm like, can you just give me like a camera and like lights and a stage and 1,000 people and like instead of like the intimacy of actually like an in-person thing. So I'm.
Right. What'd you think of the meeting last night?
Oh my God, I loved it. I loved it so much. I texted my sponsor this morning. I took pictures of the fire, not of the people, but you know, like of my feet in front of the fire. And I was like, oh my God, there was a bonfire and there were people there and it was a speaker
meeting. And you did
meeting.
so good.
Oh my gosh. I was like, I've never been to an AA meeting that was just chilling around a fire. And like everyone there has this mission to like share their experience and strength and hope with other people and to help other people get well. And I have to tell you, listening to some of those people that stood up and said what Oak Forest has done for them, like the lives that get changed, like
I know, it's beautiful.
Like I think of the house I'm about to open and the beds and like, I'm sorry. I think about like the families that are affected whose loved ones choose to get sober and those families get their family member back. Like they get their loved one back because their loved one decides to work a program and their loved one decides to cut the bullshit out and save their own life. And it's because of treatment centers and it's because of places like Oak Forest. It's because of sober living homes that these people are able to get their life back. It's just, I know that that's what God is like put me on this path for. And like seeing someone who's doing it is so inspiring. Like the life I have now because I stopped hating God and I started just trusting him is insane. Like beyond any wildest dream that a magazine cover ever got me. Like sobriety gives me more than my modeling career ever gave me. It's unreal. It's like, and I'm only 9 months in this time and I'm like, oh, this is what it feels like to work a program.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And you found your purpose in like helping other people. And that's a huge part of it, right? So I think that's so cool that you've found that and you have this like fire and passion to help other people because it's a huge part of this shit. And that's why we do what we do. And that's why we're all here today.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
That's why all of us are here today.
It helps me stay sober.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm opening that home in the heart of where everything bad that's ever happened to me in my life happened in that town.
Yeah.
Oh my God, if I didn't have a sponsor this past summer while I was renovating that house, like everything traumatic that's ever happened to me came right back to me. And
you got through it sober.
I had the tools to do it.
Yeah.
I sit in that house, like I was staying in it while I was renovating it. And I would just wake up in the mornings and pour my coffee and just like cry happy tears and like, this is not the person I ever thought I would be. And I'm actually really proud of her.
I'm really proud of her too.
Thank you, friend.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's an incredible journey. You know?
I'm not driving this car. I'm the passenger. Yeah. God's the one taking me down this trip because I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm surrounded by people who do.
That's right. We're all just trying to figure it out, I think, you know?
Yeah. Sorry to get so emotional.
That's what happens here.
Yeah.
We were all crying yesterday. You know, we just have those moments.
All four of us.
It's good for us. It's good. I didn't cry. I was telling them yesterday, there was a large part of my life where I didn't cry like at all. Like I think I like cried too much in my early teen years and when I first was in my addiction, and then I didn't cry for probably over a decade, like cry. And now I'm like starting to get it back, which is nice.
Was it just that tough girl like
I know I would literally I think it was like a subconscious thing because I would try, like my eyes would well up and I would be like, I haven't cried in so long, so I'd be like you know, trying to like get it out, but I would drop one tear and then it would like and I couldn't. And that was me for a really long time. And I'm like, this probably isn't healthy. But I think it was just a defense mechanism. Like I was just so used to not feeling anything and numbing.
Survival, Rachel.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But now I'm starting to be able to like cry more. And I love that. So I love when people cry on here.
I've turned into a big crybaby in sobriety.
Yeah, you just get your emotions back. And that's like, it's such a beautiful thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because you were probably just numb for so long. I mean, I don't know if you were a crier when you were drunk, but it's different.
No, I wasn't. And Brene Brown is one of my favorite psychologists. But she says, when you numb the capacity that you have for pain, you're also numbing your capacity for joy.
Come on.
And I was trying to numb all that anxiety and all this insecurities and all the pain, but I was numbing this. Like, I've never been so happy that I cry, you know. And now I'm the person where I'm like, I'm so happy, and like I just sob, and it's beautiful because I can show that to my son, and my son is like. I remember one of our dogs died a few years ago, and it was when I was drinking heavy, and I cried really hard when my dog died, but I never cried in front of my kid. And now he'll see me just get teary-eyed talking on the phone with like my sponsor or like one of my friends that's sober or like, and he told me, he goes, I haven't seen you cry since Archer died. And I'm like, oh, mommy's happy crying right now. And mommy's going to continue to happy cry because there's a lot of happy things happening.
How old's Jack today?
He's 10.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's a good age. That's a fun age.
Yeah. And he gets to see the promises,
promises and diving with sharks. Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
She literally dives with sharks like all the time. Like it's a normal everyday thing.
Of course I drink like a fish. I'm a mermaid.
Where have you been diving? Where's the coolest place you've been diving?
So I live in South Florida and there's a lot of really cool reefs that are right there off the beach, and I don't have a boat. If you don't have a boat in South Florida, you're poor. So I'm poor, and I don't. So I'll go to the beach spots where you can swim out, and I'll swim out like about like a football field worth, and just there's incredible things right there off the pier. So I've seen like manta rays and dolphins there. I also went to Bimini 2 summers in a row with a friend of mine who's been studying this pod of dolphins out there. Oh, wow. So we found the pod and I brought my son to that too. Got to like swim with this wild pod of dolphins. And
too bad. I think like dolphins I could do. I don't know about sharks. I don't know about sharks.
But sharks for me are because they were never a fear growing up. I grew up diving and snorkeling. Sharks for me are, they put me in awe, and they absolutely humble me.
You have a video on here, right? Can we play the video?
Do, yeah.
Play the video.
If you,
there we go.
Not that one. Scroll down more. Okay. There's another one that one in the middle. This one's fun. We were actually just trying to take pictures, and this guy was like, hey, what's up?
The way I would shit my pants in the water.
But I want to be with them.
What is that? What kind of shark is that?
I'd have to see the fin again. I think that was a sandbar shark. Because I'm like, wait, come back. I think that was a sandbar shark.
That's insane.
So when I dive with them...
Mostly free diving?
Always free diving. Okay. No, that's a silky.
I seen on there that you went to Dubai. Did you swim in like the world's largest...
So Dubai was a photo shoot. Dubai was a photo shoot, and we did like dune buggies and desert stuff and Burj Khalifa, but we didn't do water stuff there. I did swim in the Maldives. I dove in the Maldives, which was not as cool as I thought it would be. It was beautiful. The water was beautiful, but it looked a lot like Key West, to be honest. Oh, okay. And then Hawaii was absolutely incredible. I love diving Hawaii. It's always amazing. And I did sharks in Hawaii too. But the thing with the sharks is like you have to make eye contact with them to let them know that you're a predator like they are. If you act like prey, they'll come after you like
I would
prey.
get eaten on my first try. Like I would be
You
done.
have to be with the right people, and I can link you with the right people. Okay, and
I
you
would be
should
like,
definitely try it.
It's not as scary as you think. I've done a bunch of shark diving.
Yeah,
like
Oh, you
that
did
with
that in
free
Hawaii,
with no
didn't you?
cage.
I've done it in
You don't need a
Australia, Belize.
Wow.
Yeah, and
you dived the blue hole in Belize.
no, I didn't.
Ah, that's
But
on my
I'm
bucket list.
With
Scuba
no-
Patty certified.
I've seen people do the cage thing. So you do this
free.
too.
Yeah. We found a whole pod. We chummed the water and got a bunch of nurse sharks to come in because you can chum it. You know what I mean? They all,
we chum the water for all of those.
Yeah, they come in.
So they eat beforehand, so they don't want to eat
No,
you.
no, they're just there, just like looking for the food.
They're looking. Okay, so when you chum the water, the
That
sharks
makes
are
it
looking
sound so much
for-
better.
Well, because you're not food. So
Yeah, we're not
the
food.
sharks want like
They
an
don't eat
easy
us.
snack. They want the injured prey. They don't want something that is going to cause them like a lot of energy that they have to exude to go after,
Yeah.
especially if they smell easy prey. So the
Yeah.
chum is kind of like, they're going to look at you and they're going to be like, nah, that's too much effort. Where's the free shit? You know, sharks are like cats.
What if
Okay.
they're
They're like
really
scavengers.
I have dogs and I have cats.
Yeah.
Okay. When I dive with dolphins, it's like playing with dogs because they want to play with you and they're super happy. When I dive with sharks, it's like diving with cats because cats, you have to like entice them to come near
"Don't
you.
touch me."
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
And
they
then
just, like-
they still might bite you. Like,
They might claw you.
yeah.
Have you ever come close? Has a shark ever just been like, you know, like
So one time I was diving with this group actually that I dive with a lot, and I dove down. I free dove down, and when I dive down, the sharks usually think that I'm swimming away and acting like prey, so a lot will come in. And then when I turn around and make eye contact, they all kind of turn away. But that's what makes good photos. And these photographers that I dive with are shark experts as well. Well, there was one time that there were just too many silky sharks, and the silkies are a little
A little more aggressive.
they're feisty, they're spicy. And so I felt like a thud on the back of my head, and I turn around and the guy's name was Danny. He was pointing me up to the surface. We go up to the surface and he was mad at me because he was like, you can't go down that deep. There's too many right now. And I had to knock one away. He had to redirect one away from the back of my head because I was making eye contact with one in front of me, but there was
shit,
another
another
one
one.
coming around me.
And is he in scuba gear? So he-
No,
oh,
we're all
he's
free
free-diving.
diving.
Oh,
He's
okay.
actually based in Hawaii. And yeah, all of the guys I go with free dive.
Yeah.
I like scuba and I am
Yeah.
scuba certified, but
Yeah.
as soon as I started free diving, I was
You're
like,
Love
free.
free diving.
this is
yeah.
the mermaid shit right here. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have a
for sure.
tank, like any
so how
of
do
that.
you? So you have to come up for air.
So you can do things called breathe ups and like breathing exercises to help you get
Yeah.
your static breath hold up so that you can hold your breath more. And when I'm with something I want to dive with, I forget how long. I don't know how long I hold
You
my
can
breath
hold your
for.
breath for a long time when you're not panicking.
Yeah.
And thinking about it.
So my static is like 2 minutes and 48 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people that have 3 minutes, 4 minutes, you know, underwater, but static is not moving. So when
Yeah.
you're diving, that time cuts in half.
Yeah.
But there have been times where I'm down there, and this one time I had like a slow dance with a bull shark that was like incredible. It's just me and him. And I went too far away from the boat, which I'm just like not a good diver, guys. I'm not safe. And he was staring at me, and we had eye contact, and I was turning and he was going around me. And I feel like that was my longest breath hold ever, or time slowed down. But
Yeah.
it was an incredible experience. And this is shit that I can't do
Yeah.
if I'm drinking. Like, to be honest, like,
No, for sure.
I was just about to ask you that. Have you ever? Because I know you've been doing shit like this since you were like
Yeah.
younger. Did you do that drunk?
not drunk, but hungover. And it is the worst experience hungover. And there's nothing I love more than the ocean. Except my child. Like when I was a kid or a teenager, I used to just look out at the ocean or paddle out with my dad. And I would say like, there's nothing in the world that's going to come close to how I feel about the ocean.
Yeah.
And it's my kid. That's it. That's,
Yeah.
you know, and so I would try when I was hungover and I was in my drinking days, I would do my best to like, man, I'm going to make a sunrise dive. I'm going to do it. And every time I'd get out there for maybe like 30 minutes and I'd get nauseous. I'd get headachy. I wouldn't be able to hold my breath. Like, and I'd have to go in. And it's a lot of effort to drag all your gear out to the sand and shore dive off the beach. So it was always wasted effort. And when I'm sober, you know, I'm more grateful too.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a more beautiful experience. That's my God moments when I'm under the water. It's incredible.
That's beautiful. Ask your question, Hunty.
Are you happy today?
I don't think happy covers it. I'm grateful today. I'm fulfilled today. Like, I'm going to cry happy tears again. That's how happy I am. Am I happy? It doesn't even touch the surface of what life is like now. Like, this is wild, y'all. Like,
Crazy.
If somebody would have just explained
Beyond your
to me,
wildest dreams.
yeah, if somebody would have just explained to me when I was drunk all the time that the feeling I was trying to achieve with a bottle I would get with sobriety, like, wow, this is happy, sure, and then some.
I love that.
Yeah.
I always wonder if you are like, I think we go through the process, how we go through it, and have to feel all that shitty stuff so that we can appreciate, like, because if you never had your drinking problem, then you would have never been able to get sober and like find these things. Mm-hmm. So I always think it's really funny to like think about, like, if we were just normies.
I kind of feel bad for normies when you put it that
so
way.
I say this all the time.
For sure.
Yeah.
Say it all the time.
They don't know what they're missing out on. They should get a crippling addiction that almost kills them.
Character building.
There's just something about it, it just does something to us, it makes us more compassionate. We have a deeper, I think, understanding of gratitude. And I think it just, the people that work programs and get sober and like find a God of their understanding become seriously like the most beautiful human beings that we've talked to. I mean, we've talked to a lot of people.
You got to go through the dark to find the light type shit.
For sure.
And I will say this on finding the God of your understanding. The woman that's my sponsor now, the first time she was a speaker at a meeting, she said something that will stick with me for the rest of my life because I had the biggest problem with God. I was just like raised where God was like a punisher, And she said, all of the problems I ever had with God were actually just the faults of men. Because when she was looking at religion and she was looking at organized religion in churches, and she was like,
spot on.
Yeah, it was never God. It was always the faults of men. And when I looked back at all the things I hated about organized religion, I was like, oh, this woman needs to sponsor me ASAP. I love her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do a little plug on your women's house that's opening up.
Yeah.
What is that going to be? What's your hope with it? What are your dreams? Like, what is that?
So
what is it?
It's called My Best Friend's Place. The website is bestfriendsplace.com. And this is one of what will be hopefully 5 women's locations on the west side of Jacksonville, where there's only one other house that's a women's house. There's a huge need for it there. Both of my parents are in home health care. So the next step after I have 3 to 5 houses that are up with filled beds and filled hearts, my next step is doing in-home health, in-home addiction treatment with my parents' in-home healthcare company. And then the long-term goal is to open up a treatment center on the west side of Jacksonville as well. Amazing. So I know this road is really long, and I know there's a lot of heartbreak on it, because when you deal with addiction, what a lot of people don't tell you about sobriety is that people who don't choose sobriety, all your friends die. So I know there's going to be a lot of people that are not going to make it, but there's going to be a lot of people who do. So my hope is that I can leave this legacy for my son and that he gets to witness what recovery is at a young age. And, he doesn't deal with what I dealt with, that he has a completely different life than I had growing up. And in the process, like, we take my hometown and we turn it inside out.
Yeah. I love that.
It's beautiful.
Thank you, friend.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. Seriously. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Y'all are amazing. I need to hang out with people like y'all more.
Yes.
We'll just fly out here.
All the time.
Come to the bonfire meeting.
Listen, it's worth a plane ticket. Okay.
Right?
Shut up. I will be there.